great pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Colombo, High Commission of India, for this online lecture on Devotional Dance Recital. This is one of the events of India at 75 to mark the 75th anniversary of Indian independence. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you once again to my lecture room devotional dance program under the title of Sivamayam, and the topic of this program is Lord Shiva worship in Sri Lanka. This particular program is specially organized for the Maha Sivaratri festival, which takes place on the 1st of March 2022. The topic what I had selected today is Lord Shiva worship in Sri Lanka. According to prehistorical record, earlier Sri Lanka was ruled by Kuberan, the step-brother of ancient king Ravana. At the time, Sri Lanka was the wealthiest land in the world. After his period, Ravana captured this country and ruled this country. According to history, Ravana was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva, and he ruled the country with Saiva Ahama codes and Saiva Ahama traditions. He was deeply involved in the Shiva cult. Earlier, according to Tamil literature, Sri Lanka was called Ilangai or Ilankapuri. The ancient king Ravana was called Ilangeshwaran. Ilangeshwaran means Lord Shiva. Why that name was given to him? Because he was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. That is why even still in the Tamil literal works we can see Ravana's name as Ilangeshwaran. And also he ruled the whole country with the Hindu religious code, traditions, culture and moral values of Hinduism. Ravana ruled Sri Lanka according to the Hindu Agama Shastra traditions, culture and with the moral values. Earlier, this land was also called as Ravanadipati because Ravanadipati means the land was belonged to the ancient king Ravana. That is why it still in many of the Tamil literal work we can see the word Ravanadipati. Many of the Tamil literal works we can see the term Ravanadipati as for the reference of Sri Lanka. According to Hinduism, there are 4 margams: Sarya Margam, Kiriya Margam, Yoga Margam and Jnana Margam. Sarya Margam means the physical worship, the worship by physic, doing service in the temple is considered as Sarya Margam. The second Margam is the Kiriya Margam. Kiriya Margam means that by rituals, worshipping the god by ritual is called Kriya Margam in Hindu religious tradition. And the third margam is Yoga Margam. Yoga Margam means that controlling the mind and body and worshipping the God. That is called the Yoga Margam in Hinduism. Similarly, the last Margam is Jnana Margam. Jnana Margam means re-eliminating the desire, contemplating, thinking, and seeking the salvation. This is the final and the last Margam in Hindu religious tradition. So in Hindu religion, we can see there are 4 different ways of worshipping the God, which are called as Margam in Hindu religion. It is my earnest desire and it is my duty to mention about the Nitya and Nainitya Kriyas. Nitya Kriyas means the daily pujas and daily occurrence which are taking place in the temples. That Nitya means daily. What are the occurrence, what are the rituals which are being taken out by the temples daily. Nainitya means occasionally. For instance, in the monthly or annually, some of the festivals are taking place in the temple. Those are come under the topic of Nainitya Kriyas. All these Kriyas are well practiced in Sri Lanka and well followed by the Saiva devotees in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a country is dotted with number of Shiva temples all over the island nation. Tirumular, one of the saints of Hindu religion, he once mentioned Sri Lanka as Shiva Bhumi because that much of Shiva worship had taken place in this island nation. Saint Tirumular had enacted the 10th Tirumurai, which is called Tirumandaram. From ancient time onwards, Shiva worship was well practiced in this island nation. All over Sri Lanka, we can see numerous Shiva temples. According to Hinduism, there are 3 main divisions could be seen. One is Saivaism, that is dedicated to Lord Shiva worship. Other one is Vaishnavaism, which is dedicated to Lord Vishnu worship. And the other one is Shaktiism, which is dedicated to Goddess Shakti worship. According to Hinduism, there are altogether 275 Hindu temples which are being glorified by the Hindu hymns. According to Hinduism, there are altogether 275 Shiva temples which are being glorified by the Hindu hymns. Among them, 5 important temples are existing in Sri Lanka. Annually, more than thousands of pilgrims, they visit these temples and worship these temples. Those temples are Tirukkediswaram Temple, Tirukoneshwaram Temple, Naguleshwaram Temple, Muniyeshwaram Temple and Tondeshwaram temple. All these temples are dedicated to Lord Shiva. Annually, thousands of pilgrims, they used to visit these temples to fulfill their vow. According to prehistorical evidence, there was a challenge took place between Adiseshan and Vayu Bhagavan. Adiseshan is a cobra blessed with 1,000 heads. Vayu Bhagavan is the god of wind. So there was a challenge and conflict took place between the two regarding prove their strength. At the end, Adiseshan realized Vayu Bhagavan was more powerful than him. So he took a refuge in a mountain named Mount Meru. In Tamil, this is called Meru Malai. Many of the people believe Meru Malai is the Mount Kailash. But according to my opinion, I believe it must be one of the ranges of Mount Kailash. And Vayu Bhagavan blew out that particular mountain, Mount Meru. It splitted and fell at the southern part of India. One portion fell near the Rameshwaram temple, and other two portions, one fell near the Tirukkediswaram temple and other fell near the Tirukoneshwaram temple. People believe later only out of these rocks only these temples started developing as Rameshwaram, Tirukoneshwaram and Tirukkediswaram temples. Among the Sri Lankan Shivan temples, Tirukoneshwaram temple and Tirukkediswaram temples have special place because these two temples are beautifully described by the Saiva saints of Thirugnana Sambandar of 7th century and Thirunavukarasar of 7th century and Sundaramurti Nayanar of 8th century. They enacted beautiful hymns on these temples. In one of the Hindu hymns, the great saint Thirugnana Sambandar Swamigal of 7th century beautifully mentioned about the holy ashes of Tirunuru by mentioning Ravanan Meladu Niru in his Tirunuru Tirupadiham. That means he mentioned that the ancient king of Sri Lanka, Ravana, who adorned himself with the holy ashes, Tirunuru. That is why he mentioned in his Tirunuru Tirupadiham about the glories of the holy ashes. At one place he mentioned Ravanan Meladu Nuru. That means the ancient king Ravana who adorned himself with the holy ashes. The ancient king Ravana, he was an ardent devotee of Tirukoneshwaram temple. Near the Tirukoneshwaram temple, there is a cut at a rock which is called Ravana Vattu in Tamil, and in English it is called Ravana Cliff. It is said that the ancient king, while he was doing his last rites to his mother, he took his sword and cut the rock. Still we can see that. Similarly, near the Tirukoneshwaran temple, there is a place called Kenya. 7 different temperature wells could be still seen. That also caused by the ancient king Ravana while he was performing his last rites to his mother. So all these show us how much devotion he had at the presiding deity of Tirukoneshwaram temple. He was an ardent devotee of Tirukoneshwaram temple. Tirukoneshwaram temple was worshipped by the ancient king Ravana. Meanwhile, the Tirukadiswaram temple, Shivan temple, was worshipped by Ravana's father-in-law Mayan and his wife Mandodari and his mother-in-law. All these 3 worshipped and showed their full dedication to the Tirukadiswaranadar at Tirukadiswaran temple. Tirukadiswaran temple is located in the northern province at the west coast of Sri Lanka. Today that is linked by highways as well as by the ferry service to reach that place. According to one historical evidence, Kedu Bhagavan worshipped the Kediswaranadar at Tirukadiswaran temple and get rid of his curse, which was caused by one of his misdeeds. He get rid of his curse because of one of his misdeeds. Tirukoneshwaram is located at the eastern province of Sri Lanka. Tirukoneshwaram is located at the eastern province of Sri Lanka. After killing Ravana in the Ramayana epic, Lord Rama, while he was passing the Muneeshwaram temple by the Pushpakara Vimana of Ravana, he felt a sort of vibration when the Pushpakara Vimana was flying over the Muneeshwaram temple. Lord Rama realized that must be the sin caused by the death of Ravana. He went inside the temple and worshipped Lord Shiva, where Lord Shiva instructed Rama to install 5 different lingams at 5 different Shiva temples. The first lingam was installed at Malawi near Muneeshwaram. The second lingam was installed at Muneeshwaram. Third lingam was installed at Tirukoneshwaram. Fourth lingam was installed at Tirukadiswaram. He installed all these lingams by 4 different methods. But when he reached the Indian shores, he didn't have any metal in his hand, and he made the lingam out of sea sand. That later became Rameshwaram. the presiding deity of Rameshwaram, which was actually made by the Lord Rama out of sea sand with the aid of goddess Sita. Nakuleshwaran temple is another important Shivan temple in Sri Lanka and one of the important temples of 5 Ishwarams of Sri Lanka. Nakuleshwaram is located near the Kirimalai Seas. It is near the natural harbour of Kangesathurai, which is known as KKS Natural Harbour. This particular temple is also connected with ancient Puranic epics. Besides this, in Jaffna district, in the heart of Jaffna, we can see the Vannarpanai Shivan temple with exquisite, beautiful sculptures with majestic Dravidian structure. This is in the heart of Jaffna town. Besides this, in Jaffna district, we can see in each and every village at least minimum 1 or 2 Shivan temples. Among them, Nallur Shivan temple, which is located near the Nallur Kandaswami temple in Jaffna, and other one is Tirunelveli Shivan temple, that is also located closer to the vicinity of Nallur's Kandaswami temple, and other one is the Chattanadar temple. This Chattanadar temple, Shivan temple, was built as a guardian temple for the Nallur Kandaswami temple in ancient times. Besides this, we can see in Jaffna district, Kari Nagar Shivan temple is one of the important temples in Jaffna district. Kari Nagar Shivan temple is one of the important temples in Jaffna district, which is 23.1 kilometers away from the heart of Jaffna town. This particular temple, Shivan temple, is known as Ulathu Chidambaram. This particular temple is known as Ulathu Chidambaram temple in Sri Lanka. Besides this, we can see in the eastern side, Mullaitivu district, Ottisuttan Tandodishwarar temple is there, and in the eastern province, Kokkatticholai Tandodishwarar temple is there. Similarly, in the southern side, Meenakshi Sudareshwarar temple is seen at the Gaul district. All these shows us how the Shiva worship is practiced in Sri Lanka and how it was practiced earlier also. Besides this, in 1856, Ponnambala Vaneshwar Mudaliyar, who built the Kalambur Ponnambala Vaneshwarar temple near the seaport of Kalambur seaport. If you see, most of these temples were built near the seaports of Sri Lanka because the manpower and materials were brought down from India by these constructors. Most of the temples were built by different rulers as well as by some of the outstanding wealthy communities in this land. Chola penetration took place in Sri Lanka during the period of 10th century. Before that, the Anuradhapura period was existed. That was the longest period in the Sri Lankan history. It existed about 11th centuries. After that, the Polonnaruwa period started in Sri Lanka. The Cholas ruled Sri Lanka only for a period of 55 years. But during that period, this particular Polonnaruwa area was known as Janaka Mandala. That contemporary period in Tamil Nadu, the Chola regime was ruling, that was known as Chola Mandala. They built numerous beautiful Shivan temples in Sri Lanka. All these Shivan temples are well preserved by the Department of Archaeology of Sri Lanka by mentioning Shiva temple 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We can see beautiful constructions, Dravidian constructions in the temples. Beautifully we can see the idols. Most of these idols we can see in the form of stones as well as in the form of metals. Beautiful sculptures, Shivan sculptures are excavated. Among them, the tallest one was the Shiva Nataraja. Polonnaruwa is an area, is a Buddhist area. Even earlier it was a Buddhist area. We can see the Buddhist influence in these Nataraja statues, but the religious coordinations are well seen in these sculptures. The Shiva Nataraja sculpture was very famous sculpture and the tallest among all the Nataraja sculptures excavated from the Polonnaruwa area. We can see underneath this Shiva Nataraja sculpture beautiful musical players were well depicted in that. That indicate without the musical support, the dance could not be done. Even those days, it was well realized and those musical instrumental players were well depicted under the sculpture. This particular Shiva Nataraja sculpture, we could see the Buddhist influence of Ananda. It is an Ananda Tandava sculpture, but we can see the Buddhist influence invariably in this sculpture. So, at the end of this lecture, it is most important to say that the Shiva worship was well practiced by the people of this land from the time of immemorial. We can see this Shiva worship was well practiced in this land. At the end of this lecture, it is my pleasure to mention that invariably the Shiva worship was well practiced in this land from the time of immemorial. Even still, it is well practiced and preserved by all the communities in this land. And it is all the Saiva Ahama codes, moral values and traditions, culture are well preserved in this land. It is my great pleasure to mention all this to you. This particular lecture is followed by some devotional dance program. First is Ravindran. It is a composition by Tirunjana Sambandar Swamigal, Saint Tirunjana Sambandar on Lord Shiva. It is followed by Sabhapadiki. It is in the Raga Avohi, set to Rupakatala. It is a composition of Gopalakrishna Bharatiya. It is a composition of Gopalakrishna Bharatiya. It is in the Raga Avohi, set to Rupakatala. by Tirunavukkarasar, Saint Tirunavukkarasar alias Upper Swamigal. It is followed by a Kirtanam of Muthutandavar. It is in the Ragam Moganam, set to Rupakatalam. It is in the Ragam Moganam, set to Rupakatalam. It is a composition of Muthutandavar. finale of this program is another devotional composition of Gopalakrishna Bharatiyar. It is in the raga Adana set to Rupakatalam on Lord Shiva. The finale of this program is another devotional song by the composer Gopalakrishna Bharatiyar. It is in the raga Adana set to Rupakatala on Lord Shiva.